The massive council chamber floated in the void between three dying stars. Inside, representatives from 50 alien races watched their doom unfold on the holographic display. The Devourers had come again, Commander Vex of the Galactic Defense. Force stood at the center, his blue scales dulling with fear. "We have lost 17 systems in 3 cycles," he announced. His forearms trembled as he pointed at the red zones spreading across the star map. "Our combined fleets cannot stop them." The Devourers were not just an enemy fleet. They were a plague of machines that consumed entire planets, turning all matter into more of themselves. Every battle made them stronger. Every world they took became fuel for their endless hunger. "The Beta Squadron is gone," reported Captain Rex from the crow-like Talon race. His black feathers ruffled in distress. 300 ships turned to scrap in minutes. The Devourers adapted to our plasma. Weapons, they're immune now. Around the chamber, gasps and clicks of despair echoed. The insect-like Queen Buzz vibrated her wings nervously. "My hive worlds prepare for evacuation. But where can we run? They spread faster than we can flee." Elder Tom, the oldest member from the peaceful grove species, rustled his leaf-covered branches. "Perhaps we should consider surrender. Maybe they can be reasoned with." "Machines do not negotiate," interrupted Admiral Storm of the Warrior Fang Empire. His fur bristled with anger. "We fight or we die. There is no middle path." The arguing grew louder. Some species wanted to flee to distant galaxies. Others proposed desperate attacks. A few suggested hiding in black holes. None of the plans offered real hope. Suddenly, every alarm in the chamber screamed at once. The main display flashed red. "Devourers detected," shrieked the automated systems. "Distance, 1 light hour." Approaching at maximum speed, Commander Vex's scales turned pale. How did they find us? This location was secret. On the screen, the Devourer fleet appeared like a cancer spreading through space. Thousands of geometric ships, each one built from the bones of consumed worlds. They moved in perfect synchronization, a singular mind controlling countless bodies. "All ships, prepare for battle," Vex commanded, though his voice carried no hope. The combined fleet of the Galactic Council numbered barely 2,000 vessels. They were outnumbered 5 to 1. The first wave hit like a tsunami of metal and energy. Devourer ships didn't just attack. They dismantled their enemies molecule by molecule. 3 Council cruisers vanished in seconds, transformed into raw materials for the enemy. Shields failing on all fronts. Captain Rex's ship spun wildly, trying to dodge the converting beams. They're adapting too fast. "Every weapon we use only works once." The Grove's living ships wilted under the assault. The Fang's brutal destroyers crumbled like paper. Even the Talon's swift fighters couldn't escape the ever-learning enemy dot in the council chamber. The lights flickered. Through the transparent walls, explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. Representatives huddled together, natural enemies forgetting their feuds in the face of extinction. "Is this how the galaxy ends?" Queen Buzz whispered. "Not with glory, but with cold machines eating everything we built?" Commander Vex was about to answer when something impossible happened. Every sensor in the chamber went crazy. A massive gravitational anomaly appeared at the edge of the battle. Space itself seemed to tear open. "What is that?" Elder Tom asked, his branches shaking. Through the rip in reality came a ship unlike anything in the Council's databases. It was smaller than the Devourer motherships, but radiated power that made space bend around it. The vessel was clearly built for war, every line and angle designed for destruction. On its hull, strange symbols glowed with blue fire. The Universal. Translator struggled with the markings before finally displaying United Earth Coalition Battleship Phoenix, Earth. Admiral Storm growled in confusion. The primitive world from Sector 47? They barely achieved faster-than-light travel 50 cycles ago. They were denied Council membership for being too violent and unstable. But as the human warship fully emerged, from the spatial tier, all eyes turned in shock. The ship that shouldn't exist, from the species deemed too dangerous to join civilized space, had arrived at the galaxy's darkest hour. Asterisk, the battleship Phoenix hung in space like a predator studying its prey. Unlike the elegant curves of Council ships or the geometric horror of the Devourers, the human vessel was all harsh angles and brutal efficiency. Gun ports lined its hull like teeth, and energy crackled along strange antennae that hurt to look at directly. Inside the Council chamber, confusion reigned. "Scan that ship," Commander Vex ordered. How did humans achieve jump technology? Our spies reported they were still using chemical rockets. The scanner operator, a gelatinous being named Glob, quivered as data streamed across his console. "Commander, these readings make no sense. The power output is... It's impossible. Their reactor signature doesn't match any known technology." On the battlefield, the Devourers had noticed the new arrival. A squadron of converter ships peeled away from the Yasset. Main assault, heading straight for the Phoenix. They moved with mechanical precision, preparing to analyze and consume this unexpected variable. "The humans will be destroyed in seconds," Captain Rex said, his voice heavy with pity. "They don't know what they're facing? Should we warn them?" Before anyone could respond, the Phoenix moved. Not with the smooth acceleration of anti-gravity drives, but with violent bursts of pure thrust that made space scream. The human ship didn't dodge. It charged straight at the Devourer squadron. "Are they insane?" Admiral Storm barked. No shields, no evasive maneuvers. The Phoenix opened fire. What happened next defied every law of space combat the Council knew. Instead of energy beams or plasma bolts, the humans fired solid projectiles, chunks of metal accelerated to near light speed. The primitive weapons tore through Devourer ships like paper, each impact creating explosions that scattered the machines. Adaptive armor into useless fragments. Kinetic weapons? Elder Tom gasped, but the Devourers adapted to those centuries ago. Yet the human projectiles kept hitting their marks. On closer inspection, each round was different, varying masses, velocities, and compositions. The Devourers' adaptive systems, designed to counter energy weapons, couldn't process the chaotic variety of simple physics being thrown at them. The Phoenix didn't stop there. Missile pods opened along its hull, releasing swarms of self-guided explosives. But these weren't normal missiles. Each one broadcast random electromagnetic noise, screamed false data, and changed course unpredictably. The Devourer point defenses, used to perfect calculations, couldn't track the deliberately chaotic weapons. A message suddenly appeared on all Council channels. The translation was rough, but clear. "This is Captain James of Earthship Phoenix. We're here to help. Suggest you fall back. Things are about to get messy." "Captain James," Commander Vex transmitted back, "this is Council Command. Your weapons are working, but there are thousands of Devourer ships. You're just one vessel." "Who said we came alone?" The human replied. Space tore open in a dozen places. More human ships emerged, each one as ugly and practical as the Phoenix. Destroyers bristling with missile tubes, frigates covered in kinetic cannons, and in the center, a carrier that launched not fighters, but something worse. "What are those?" Queen Buzz pointed at the small objects swarming from the carrier. The answer came as the first wave reached the Devourer fleet. They were bombs, simple, stupid nuclear bombs. Hundreds of them, each one wrapped in randomized shielding that made them impossible to predict. The Devourer's beam weapons, calibrated for complex threats, couldn't adjust to something so primitively destructive. Nuclear fire bloomed across the void. Each explosion was different. Some were pure fusion, others were dirty fission, and a few were something exotic that left radiation signatures the Council couldn't identify. The Devourers, for the first time in recorded history, began to pull back. They're retreating? Admiral Storm couldn't believe his eyes. The Devourers never retreat. Captain James's voice crackled over the comm again. Yeah, turns out your ancient enemy has a weakness. They're too smart. They expect everyone to fight with advanced, predictable technology. But humans? We're really good at controlled chaos. In the council chamber, representatives stared in stunned silence. The primitive species they had rejected for being too violent and unpredictable had done what 50 civilizations couldn't made the Devourers pause. Commander Vex found his voice. Captain James, I'm transmitting our tactical data. Everything we know about the Devourers. Much appreciated, the human replied. But first, you might want to clear the area. We brought something special for these machines, and it's not exactly precision targeted. What do you mean? Vex asked. Let's just say, Captain James chuckled, we're about to show these robots what happens when you threaten the galaxy that makes our coffee and anime. The Council fleet retreated to minimum safe distance as ordered. Through their sensors, they watched the human fleet form a strange formation, not the elegant geometries of advanced warfare, but a chaotic spread that seemed to have no pattern. What are they doing? Elder Tom asked. Their formation makes no tactical sense. Admiral Storm studied the display with his warrior's eye. It's not a formation. They're creating chaos on purpose. Look, no two ships are unpredictable. Paths. The Devourer fleet had regrouped after the nuclear barrage. Their collective intelligence analyzed the human threat, calculating responses to the kinetic weapons and nuclear bombs. They began to advance again, this time with adapted shields that could deflect solid projectiles and absorb radiation. The Devourers have adapted, Captain Rex warned over the comm. Captain James, your weapons won't work anymore. We figured they would, the human replied calmly. That's why we brought Plan B through Z. The Phoenix launched something new, a cloud of metallic dust that spread across kilometers of space. The Devourer's sensors immediately analyzed it. Simple iron. Filings completely harmless. They ignored it and pressed forward. That was their mistake. Every human ship fired electromagnetic pulses simultaneously. The iron dust suddenly became 1 trillion tiny magnets, swarming toward the Devourer ships and clogging their precise machinery. It wasn't devastating damage, but it was annoying like sand in gears. While the Devourers cleared the dust, human ships launched their next surprise, ramming drones. Not sophisticated AI-controlled fighters, but simple engines strapped to armor plates, programmed to crash into anything geometric. The Devourer's weapons, calibrated for complex threats, wasted precious energy, destroying what were essentially flying rocks. This is insanity, Commander Vex muttered. They're fighting the most advanced enemy in the galaxy with junk, but the madness had method. Each chaotic attack forced the Devourers to adapt, to recalculate, to process new data. And while the machines were busy adapting to flying rocks and metal dust, the humans launched their real attack. A single ship, smaller than the others, had been drifting quietly among the chaos. Now it accelerated toward the Devourer command node, the massive pyramid that coordinated the entire fleet. Is that ship broadcasting music? Glob asked, his sensors picking up electromagnetic waves. Indeed, the small human vessel was blasting something at maximum power. The universal translator struggled with the audio before displaying Earth Classical Ride of the Valkyries. The Devourers focused their fire on the approaching ship. Beam after beam struck its hull, but the vessel kept coming. Its armor was already gone, systems failing, crew compartments venting atmosphere. But still, It accelerated. They're going to ram the command node, Admiral Storm realized. It's a suicide run. No, Captain James corrected. It's not suicide. The crew evacuated 10 minutes ago. That ship is running on anger and autopilot now. The small ship the humans called it Kamikaze struck the Devourer command node at 70% light speed. But it wasn't just a collision. The ship's entire cargo bay was filled with something the Council's sensors couldn't identify. The explosion that followed made the nuclear barrage look like fireworks. It wasn't just energy. It was matter converting to energy in ways that violated several laws of physics. The command node didn't just explode. It ceased to exist, taking a sphere of spacetime with it. What was that? Queen Luz demanded. Antimatter, Captain James said simply. About 300 kilograms of it. We figured machines that adapt to everything might have trouble adapting to not existing. Without their command node, the Devourer. Fleet faltered. Individual ships still functioned, but their perfect coordination was gone. They began attacking randomly, sometimes even firing on each other in confusion. The human fleet pressed the advantage. Each ship fought differently. One used chemical weapons that corroded metal. Another fired capsules full of computer viruses. A third somehow generated localized EM fields that shouldn't work in space. It was technological chaos, and the Devourers. Logical minds couldn't process it all. They're breaking, Captain Rex announced. The Devourers are actually retreating. Indeed, the machine fleet was pulling back, individual ships fleeing in different directions. Without their collective intelligence, they were just sophisticated but confused weapons platforms docked in the council chamber. Representatives stood in stunned silence. The unbeatable enemy that had consumed 17 systems was running from a species they had deemed too primitive and chaotic to join their alliance. Commander Vex finally spoke. Captain James, how did you know this would work? The humans' reply was simple. We didn't. But humans are really good at throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. Turns out, super-intelligent machines really hate it when nothing makes sense. Asterisk. As the last Devourer ship vanished into hyperspace, the battlefield fell silent except for the debris and radiation. The Council fleet slowly returned, their sensors sweeping the area in disbelief. Where thousands of Devourer ships had been, only scrap remained. Scan for survivors, Commander Vex ordered. Though he knew machines left no life pods, the human fleet regrouped around the Phoenix. Several ships showed heavy damage hull breaches, engines sputtering, weapons arrays melted. The carrier Arizona was listing badly, venting atmosphere from multiple decks. Captain James, Vex transmitted, your fleet needs assistance. We can provide repair facilities. Appreciated, but we've got it handled, the human replied. To the Council's amazement, the damaged human ships began helping each other. Not with sophisticated nano-repair systems or energy-based healing beams, but with welding torches and hull patches. Crew members in bulky spacesuits swarmed over damaged sections, fixing things with hand tools. They're using manual labor? Elder Tom was baffled. In space? That's incredibly dangerous. Admiral Storm watched with growing respect. Yet effective. Look, they're already sealing the Arizona's breaches. A new alert drew their attention. Long-range sensors detected Devourer reinforcements, massing 3 systems away, a fleet 10 times larger than the one just defeated. They're coming back, Captain Rex said grimly. And in greater numbers. The council chamber erupted in fresh panic. If the humans had barely defeated this fleet, how could anyone stand against one 10 times larger? How long until they arrive? Queen Buzz asked. 6 cycles, Glob calculated. Maybe 7 if they're being cautious. Captain James's voice cut through the chatter. That's plenty of time. We just need to call in the rest of our fleet. Rest? Commander Vex asked. How many? Ships does Earth have? Well, that depends. How many members are in your galactic council? 50 species, Vex answered, confused by the question. Then we've got about 200 ships coming. Give or take. The council went silent. 200 ships against tens of thousands of devourers. Seemed like madness. Admiral Storm spoke first. Captain, even with your unconventional tactics, those numbers are impossible. We should evacuate what we can. You're thinking about this wrong, James interrupted. You've been fighting the devourers like they're an enemy fleet. But they're not. They're a virus. And you don't beat a virus with a bigger hammer. You beat it with a vaccine. Explain, Vex demanded. The devourers adapt, right? They analyze, learn, counter. It's their strength. But what happens when you feed them contradictory data? When every attack is so different that adapting to one makes them vulnerable to another? On the main display, James shared human fleet movements. Ships were spreading throughout council space, but not in defensive positions. They were visiting manufacturing worlds, mining colonies, even agricultural planets. What are your people doing? Elder Tom asked. Teaching. James said. Your technology is more advanced than ours, but you've forgotten something important. You've forgotten how to be unpredictable, how to be crude, how to be absolutely, chaotically insane in battle. Reports started coming in from across council. Space. Human advisors were showing the Talon how to strap engines to asteroids and turn them into kinetic weapons. The Grove learned to grow thorns that secreted metal-eating acid. The Fang discovered that their own hunting roars, amplified and broadcast at certain frequencies, could disrupt devourer communications. You're teaching us to fight like humans? Queen Buzz realized. Not like humans, James corrected, like survivors. Every species has something unique. The devourers beat you because they learned your patterns. So we're going to give them no patterns to learn. Commander Vex watched the tactical display as council races began implementing human suggestions. A Talon squadron was practicing random flight patterns. Grove ships were growing explosive seed pods. Even the peaceful Elder Tom's people were learning to turn their solar collectors into improvised laser weapons. This is madness, Vex said, but there was hope in his voice. The best kind of madness, James agreed. Organized chaos. The Devourers are coming with their big fleet, expecting to fight the same council that ran before. Instead, they're going to face 50 species all fighting differently, unpredictably, insanely. And if it doesn't work, Admiral Storm asked. Then, we go to Plan Omega, James said quietly. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. Plan Omega makes antimatter look friendly. Around the galaxy, preparation continued. For the first time since the Devourer War began, the Council species weren't running. They were learning humanity's greatest weapon, the power of creative insanity. Asterisk, the Devourer fleet arrived exactly. On schedule, tens of thousands of geometric ships dropping from hyperspace in perfect formation. Their collective intelligence had analyzed the previous battle, adapted to human tactics, prepared for chaos. They were not prepared for what they found. Every species in the Council had changed their ships. The elegant vessels were gone, replaced by improvised war machines that hurt to look at. Talon fighters had strapped rockets to their hulls for ramming speed. Grove bioships bristled with metal thorns. The peaceful Elder Tom's vessels had mirror arrays that could focus starlight into deadly beams. All species, remember the plan, Captain James broadcast. No patterns, no coordination, just beautiful chaos. Make them cry oil. The battle began. With the Queen Buzz's move, her hive ships released trillions of tiny insects into space bioengineered creatures that could survive vacuum for minutes. They swarmed toward the Devourers, each bug carrying a different type of explosive compound. The machine's weapons fired frantically, trying to destroy each insect, wasting enormous energy on threats smaller than dust. While the Devourers dealt with the bugs, Admiral Storm's fleet attacked from below, but not with their usual plasma cannons. They fired boarding pods, something no one did in space combat anymore. Fang warriors in powered armor crashed into Devourer ships and began tearing them apart from inside with molecular claws and teeth. Primitive, but effective. Storm roared overcomes, his warriors' savage joy infectious. The Devourers adapted quickly, sealing their hulls against boarders. But that adaptation made them vulnerable to the Grove's attack seeds that could penetrate small gaps, but not solid armor. With their hulls sealed, the seeds couldn't enter, so the Grove ships rammed them, crushing seeds against Devourer hulls. The resulting vines grew at impossible speeds, feeding on metal and radiation, turning enemy ships into floating gardens. Each species brought their own insanity. The aquatic splash people flooded space with frozen water projectiles. The crystalline shimmer race reflected and refracted Devourer beams back randomly. The gaseous cloud folks simply vented themselves at enemy ships, their acidic bodies corroding everything they touched. The Phoenix and her sister ships didn't hold back either. One human vessel was broadcasting every piece of music Earth had ever created at maximum volume, the chaotic sound waves interfering with Devourer communications. Another was firing canisters full of Earth diseases viruses, couldn't infect machines, but the organic compounds gunked up sensitive equipment. There, adapting to everything. Glob reported, his sensors showing Devourer changes in real time. Good, Captain James said. Watch this. Every attacking ship suddenly stopped and retreated. For 30 seconds, nobody fired anything. The Devourers, adapted for chaos, suddenly faced nothing. Their predictive algorithms spun uselessly. Then, all at once, everyone attacked again, but with completely different weapons than before. The whiplash of adaptation was too much. Devourer ships began making mistakes, firing on empty space, shields calibrated for wrong attack types. Their collective intelligence was fragmenting, trying to process too many variables at once. That's when humanity revealed their masterstroke. A lone cargo ship, so unremarkable everyone had ignored it, opened its bay doors. Out flew millions of tiny objects, USB drives, floating through space. What are those? Commander Vex asked. Every computer virus humanity ever created, James answered, plus some new ones. We figured machines that adapt might have trouble with code that's intentionally broken. The USB drives were primitive, using connection types the Devourers had. Never seen. But curiosity or whatever drove machine intelligence made them analyze a few. The viruses spread instantly through their network, not destroying them, but making them inefficient. Calculation errors, recursive loops, and worst of all, pop-up advertisements for products that didn't exist. The Devourer fleet's perfect coordination shattered completely. Ships ran into each other, weapons fired randomly. Some vessels just stopped, frozen by logical paradoxes the viruses created. Now, James commanded. Everything we've got. The combined fleet attacked with renewed fury. Nuclear fire, kinetic rounds, acid clouds, solar beams, boarding warriors, explosive insects. It's everything. Hit at once. The Devourers, their collective intelligence corrupted by memes and malware, couldn't respond effectively. In 3 hours, it was over. The massive Devourer fleet was reduced to drifting scrap. A few ships escaped, but they fled in different directions. Their collective broken, perhaps forever. In the council chamber, 50 species celebrated together. Commander Vex stood before them all, his scales bright with pride. Today, we learned something important. Not just how to fight, but how to stand together despite our differences. Our chaos, our unpredictability, our diversity, these aren't weaknesses. They're our greatest strength. Captain James appeared on the main screen, his human face tired but smiling. Welcome to the real Galactic Council, the one that fights together, laughs together, and goes absolutely insane together when threatened. What? About Earth's membership? Elder Tom asked. You were rejected before. How about this? James proposed. We'll join, but only if you promise to stay weird. The galaxy's more fun that way. The vote was unanimous. Asterisk.